rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I can't see it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Mayor Bowe. Clark.
Here.
Eisenbrand.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Hodge.
Here.
Jacobs. Here. Clarabee.
All right, we have agenda in front of us. Any additions or corrections? All right. Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And are there any potential conflicts of interest to declare from anyone? All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Move to approve.
Second.
And any further discussion on this one? All right, this is a roll call.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrand.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, items from visitors. Spearfish Police Department to present the Officer of the Year Award. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, sir.
You bet.
Every year we have a process in the police department where we open up nominations from the officers themselves, employees of the police department, to officers who they believe, nominate who they believe to be the best officer for that year. This year, hands down, was Officer Jacob Rapp. So I'd like to take a quick minute to read a little something here and then make a presentation.
I think that'd be great.
The Spearfish Police Department recognizes Officer Jacob Rapp, having been duly nominated by his peers, has exhibited to the public and the department an exceptional degree of professionalism for the year 2019. This past year, Officer Rapp has handled over 1,000 calls for service ranging from drug and alcohol crimes to assaults, thefts, traffic enforcement, assisting those in crisis and public disturbances. Officer Rapp has received the most positive feedback reports from the members of the public regarding his actions and high standard of service. These acknowledgments from the public illustrated his caring attitude and professionalism during traffic stops and personally handling a nuisance abatement city ordinance violation which posed a risk to public safety. Early in 2019, Officer Rapp's caring approach to public service was demonstrated through a mother's appreciation as she posted on social media the manner in which he helped her child through the challenges of bullying and mental health. The actions of Officer Rapp this past year have reflected greatly upon himself, the department, and the public to whom he serves. Therefore, by the order of Chief of Police, given this day, Officer Jacob Rapp is hereby awarded Spearfish Police Department Officer of the Year.
We'll move on to City Administration. Approve the purchase of Tract 5 of Northwest Quarter of the Elkhorn Ridge Edition, 156 acres, and authorize Mayor Bowe to sign all documents related to the purchase and closing of the property if appraised price exceeds purchase price.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purchase agreement in your packet is the next step for our workforce housing project. As you can see, we're paying approximately $11,000 per acre, purchasing 136 acres more or less, with 20 being donated to us, contingent on the full purchase of the 136 parcel. We've had the geotechnic report come back. Our engineering team, Dream Designs, and myself has taken a look at it. We see no major issues that are out of the ordinary for the area. That said, it's not all black dirt out there. There are some pockets of gyp that if we encounter those during the utility construction may require some ripping or some blasting, but those are all things that Elkhorn Ridge encountered when they built the subdivision that currently exists out there. So nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that would cause us to walk away from the project, but just know that it's there's some gyp out there in those soils. If we've reached out to an appraiser, King Appraisals. He expects to have an appraisal back to us this week, and so we're asking for your permission to move forward with the purchase agreement, so long as the purchase price is less than the appraisal price.
All right, any questions, Mike, on this? All right, is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, there's a first and a second. This is a roll call vote. Is there any further discussion before we move to that? All right, roll call vote then.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrown.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Parks and Recreation, purchase a rock climbing wall from High Mountain Outfitters at a cost of $26,700 to be constructed as a bouldering cave at a cost not to exceed $75,000 to include all necessary construction equipment needed to install. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. City staff were approached several months ago about the opportunity to purchase a climbing wall from High Mountain Outfitters and then have it moved over and rebuilt at the rec center. We ran it through the process. We feel that we're comfortable now to bring it forward to you guys as a council to make the decision. Being that this is an unbudgeted item, we're asking for second penny cash on hand. What we're really looking at doing is taking the current wall and reconstructing it into a bouldering cave. There are some pictures in front of you. That is the actual wall itself in its current location. Top left corner is kind of an example of what the bouldering cave would look like. A bouldering cave is more designed for free climbing. It's not necessarily a roped and harnessed wall. It's designed for kids of all ages, from youth all the way up to adults, to be able to free climb. And if they fall, there's a better matting underneath to cushion the fall. And so, without going into too many details and boring you with some of the details, I'd be willing to answer any questions. I also have Brett here to answer any questions from an operational standpoint as well.
Any questions? All right, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, and this is a roll call vote, but before we do that, Tyler, I wanted to say thank you for all the work you put into it. I know we paused this for a while, and thank you for the additional effort. And for all those that volunteered, I appreciate it as well. And Rob, thank you for the legwork you did as well. And so we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in, or a roll call, go ahead.
I just want to add, I also want to say thanks. I know it came out hard early on, Brett, and I think we're going to end up with a really exciting piece of climbing, and I think the community is really going to be excited by this. So, thanks a lot.
Excellent. I look forward to it. And roll call vote.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrown.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, motion carries. And approve the conversion of 2 summer seasonal maintenance positions to a regular part-time maintenance position and authorize to begin recruitment. Go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is really just an efficiency thing. We currently and historically have had 3 40-hour seasonal maintenance positions budgeted at the rec center. In the past couple of years, we've had trouble filling those positions with seasonals. On top of that, we really don't need 120 hours in the summer. We could use those hours throughout the year. So what we're proposing as a staff is if we can convert those 40-hour seasonal positions into 1 seasonal and then convert 2 of the other ones into a permanent or regular part-time 19 hours a week or less throughout the rest of the year. The intent being that this would free up Wayne, our maintenance supervisor, to do more maintenance improvements and fixing of things rather than just general cleaning. So just asking for the permission to do that, recruit, and it's a budget neutral change.
Move to approve.
Second.
And any discussion on that one? All right, roll call vote.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrown.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, motion carries. Planning and zoning, hold public hearing to consider ordinance 1311, an ordinance amending Appendix A zoning of the revised ordinance of City of Spearfish zoning certain property 6025 East Colorado Boulevard. Go ahead, Gina.
This is the final step in the annexation and rezoning of this property immediately to the west. This is the parcel just recently discussed here a couple of agenda items ago. This is a 40-acre parcel owned by Mr. John Bartleson. His request is to be annexed and change zoning to city, from county ag to city ag, and then he will be shortly also requesting a water service off the Colorado Boulevard water main. Staff recommends and Planning Commission recommends approval.
All right, anybody signed up? All right, well, at this time we'll open the public hearing, and nobody signed up, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
And any discussion on this item? All right, roll call vote.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrown.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, motion carries. And approve the first reading of ordinance 1312 and set public hearing for March 16th, 2020 to amend the revised ordinance of City of Spearfish Appendix A, zoning Article 4, District Regulation, Section 5, C1, Central Commercial District, adding new paragraph G, C1, redevelopment incentive plan. Whew.
Excellent.
I should be done reading the rest of the night. Go ahead, Dina.
Thank you. This is the recommendation with some additional little changes I want to review today, coming from the Planning Commission to update our C1 zoning district to entice and incentivize redevelopment. Many of our structures within this zone are getting on 60 years of age. Some are older, some are well maintained, some not so much. But what we're hearing in our offices with folks that are interested in this zoning district is that the parking requirements are creating some pinch points in terms of how we actually can get a redevelopment and revitalization going on. So let's just review really quickly where this is. The C1 zoning district is all of that surrounds the 9-block downtown area. So basically on Jackson Boulevard, it's the north side of the road, and once you hit Canyon, it is on both sides of the road, all the way up to, I guess this would be St. Joe. And then on Colorado Boulevard, it runs from, again, approximately Grant Street all the way up Main, where it turns the corner to Colorado. And then a little bit runs also along the block where Looters, those businesses are to this location. So the main components of this particular update are to provide relief to the parking requirements for when there is a redevelopment proposal that matches and mirrors several important criteria. The first one is that we have developed a design criteria guidelines for expectations for what is redevelopment going to look like. And here we've created a manual, very short manual, talking about design expectation, design of the building, suggested architecture using existing examples in the community, exterior finish solutions. I thought that was really creative here. We have essentially a metal building fronted by a very creative looking modern front. Window and door placement, followed by just how we deal with large expanses of buildings, both two-story, single-story, long walls, and lastly, roof arrangements and elements of roof change. So this is the document that helps benchmark what is the expected level of quality. Okay, moving back to the criteria, so that's point number one, the design guidelines. Point number two, we're looking for structures that are increasing the value on the property that greater than or equal to twice the assessed value of the previous year. So we can compare what is today's assessed value, and as the building official looks at this, as the staff looks at it on our review, we expect a 2 times evaluation or a return on our investment. The third portion of this is the 50% of the required parking stalls must be on private property within the public right-of-way or both. Okay, now I just need to switch gears here a little bit and show you a minor revision that has come up since this went from Planning Commission. And you all have a copy, hard copy, and there's more copies in the back for those who want to look. The Planning Commission looked at how does the street serve the role of being a parking provider. And so the recommendation that we came up with was that a maximum of 10 spaces are permitted within the right-of-way adjacent to the applicant's property frontage, so everything along the applicant's property frontage can be 90-degree angled or diagonal parking. So that's pretty straightforward. If you have a frontage that you control, you get to do up to 10 spaces. Oops, sorry. The next change that we are suggesting is that a maximum of 10 parallel spaces on one side of the street may serve as parking for more than one property. And where this is important is, the question came up, is whose parking is it anyway? Well, it's the public's parking. However, we're going to credit those existing curbside parallel spaces to anyone who wants to redevelop. Understanding that this 10 number is important because it represents an approximate parking demand that every single parcel, if you added up all the parcels in the C1 zoning district and you figured out what they're requiring for parking, the average is 10.3. So we went down to 10. So that's sort of the benchmark of what is the approximate parking generation per parcel. And so we then compared this to our space and our rights of way. And if you have a long side of your property, such as a lot of the properties in downtown are 140 feet long on the long end, then you have room to fit 10 spaces there, either 90-degree diagonal, or you can also choose to do curbside. So that's a minor change from the Planning Commission's recommendation. The second part to that is that we feel that if we're going to be doing this allowance of parking and counting parking inside of the public street as required, then parking for residential, hotel, motel, bed and breakfast, vacation homes. So those residential uses and those overnight uses must be provided on private property. And that's in order to, of course, maintain efficiency in our snow removal operations and essentially keep that impact out of the right of way. So what I want to do is just show you just a couple of quick basic parking calculations for how this actually will work. Let's start with this one. I'll try to get it large enough so everyone can see. All right, this would be a very common redevelopment project. So using the basic parking code, office, retail, we come up with 25 parking spaces. We knock off 50% of that to come up with a parking requirement of 13. And if it's 12 and a half, we round up. So under our new code, 4 would be provided on private property from the duplex, 9 allowed in the right-of-way, and we're going to compare that to the maximum of 10 spaces. So that's always going to be our benchmark, back to the 10. Using an example of something with a somewhat higher parking demand, and I think this really illustrates the importance of the maximum of 10. So if we go to the basic parking code, 15,000 square feet of retail, if you just built it any other location, requires 50 spaces. With the redevelopment incentive, we take off 50% of that, yielding us the requirement of 25 spaces required. And in this instance, 15 have to be provided on private property and 10 in the public right-of-way. Again, maximum of 10 allowed. So as the parking demand becomes greater, the impetus or the requirement to put more stalls on private property also rises, but we hold to the 10 in the public right-of-way. So that helps mitigate and minimize the impact on the adjoining neighborhoods. And that was really the concern with the Planning Commission, is how do we keep this thing from just being a, park everywhere and every street is eligible? And recognizing we'll probably have to roll this out, see how it goes, and if we want to make some changes in the future, we certainly can. Okay, those are the mandatory requirements. I'm sorry, I keep jumping around here. Okay, the optional criteria. So in addition to those, they have to satisfy 2. And we came up with some things that we think would make downtown attractive and enjoyable and pedestrian friendly, such as widening sidewalks to a minimum of 8 feet, providing new street trees, provide landscaping per city code on site. The C1 zoning district requires no landscaping on these parcels, so anyone who could utilize that particular section of our code. We do want to encourage ecologically sustainable designs and technologies, and we think we're going to see folks get very creative with water conservation, energy efficiency, and also enhance protection from fire, flood, other natural disasters. And then the last criteria is that if there's something that is of significant benefit in the judgment of the City Council and the Planning Commission, then that would also be considered. The review process requires public hearings for both Planning Commission and City Council. And we also included an important, we felt, caveat to this, is that if there's changes to an existing curb sidewalk or a substantial change to the right-of-way, not adjoining the applicant's property, they have to go to that adjoining landowner and get their permission to sign on to the application. This prevents someone from coming in and taking, for example, we still have a lot of green grassy boulevards in the C1, from moving the curb, taking out the grass, and essentially directing all the parking into the right-of-way. And that landowner would have to be consulted and would have to authorize that application. So we think this makes a great deal of sense to achieve that accountability through the process, and then public hearings by both Planning Commission and Council, and then ultimately the discretion is yours to approve. So that summarizes this, what I think is a new development, redevelopment chapter in our city's history. And happy to take questions, as well as any concerns or questions you've got about the modified language here shown.
Any questions for Gina? All right, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for all the work that Planning and Zoning did, and Gina, that you did on this as well. And approve the discretionary tax formula for One Oak, 130 Commerce Drive, Lot 4 of Tract A, Block 4, and in addition to the city of Spearfish.
Okay. State law permits the city to assess and identify property in the tax rolls as this discretionary tax formula. And the way it works is the applicant requests, or the owner requests, to be assessed in some phased-in rates. And the council was essentially given this authority per a resolution back in 1996. And the way it takes place is, for the first year of taxation, they pay 20% of their total property tax bill. The next year it's 40%, 60%, and so forth until they're at the 100%. So it's a 5-year incentive that is rolled out over that period of time. Ultimately, then when they are at the 100%, then that will flow ultimately and continuously at that highest rate. And staff recommends approval.
All right, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Motion carries. Thank you again. And Public Safety approved the equitable sharing agreement and certification of fiscal year 2019.
I can take this, sir.
All right.
This is an annual process for us, both at the state and federal level. There's a process for asset forfeiture in certain cases. To be eligible for that, there are certain requirements that we have to fulfill. This is one of them. We have to look back at our 2019 year. Finance provides most of the data for us to provide the federal government to certify us for the upcoming year. If we don't accomplish this every year and something became available for us as far as asset forfeiture, we would not be able to take advantage of that if we don't have this process done.
Okay. Move to approve. Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Public Works? Nope. Yeah, Public Works. Approve annual water meter proposal from Core and Main and authorize staff purchases up to the budgeted amount of $160,000. Go ahead, Dusty.
Good evening. This is our annual water meter proposal from our sole source provider of Core and Main. It's up to $160,000, and I have the individual breakdowns of what each water meter costs, and we have a comparison for what it cost last year. They're nominal increases. Some of them are just a few dollars, and some of the water meters are upwards of a few $1,000s, but this is a required item from our sole source provider.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrand.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, motion carries. And approve bill list dated March 3rd, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further discussion on this one? All right, roll call.
Clark.
Yes.
Eisenbrand.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Jacobs. Yes.
All right, and mayor and council items, anything to report? Anybody? All right, I do have one thing. Everybody should have gotten an email today, but Visit Spearfish has their annual meeting and awards ceremony, and that'll be May 4th, and that is at 8 o'clock. You're here, Misty.
I am,
8 o'clock, March 4th. Yep, sorry, March 4th, Wednesday. And that's at 8 o'clock is the social, and 8:30 is when the meeting starts. So for all those that can make it, please show up. It'd be good to see what's happened in the past with Visit Spearfish and what the projection is going forward. So great. Look forward to that. And any additional items from council members? All All right, department discussion. Let's go, Mike. Anything else?
One brief item, Mr. Chair. I want the council to know that the decision to remove snow to the curb, to plow snow to the curb, is mine and mine alone. I made that decision because I believe it's the most cost-effective and efficient method to remove snow in this community. I'm very proud of the work that the men and women that are in this audience that remove snow do to keep our streets dry and clear for us to go to work. If you were to come to council meeting tonight, I would guess that you drove on a dry street instead of having a windrow in the center that melts and creates a mess and deteriorates our roads and is very expensive for us to haul away. This event alone, we saved about $40,000 not hauling snow throughout the entire community. And I believe that it is a reasonable request to ask homeowners to spend the $5 to $20 that it would cost from a private contractor a few snow events a year to remove the windrow in front of their driveway if we're not getting there fast enough. We will always continue to analyze how we operate and remove snow. We've found some efficiencies that we can put into play to allow us to do driveways quicker. That said, it's going to mean things. It means we're not plowing rec paths, and we're not doing sidewalks and parks and other things. Those things are going to have to wait. Ultimately, my decision, I think it's the right decision. Oftentimes, the right thing is the most difficult thing to do. And I stand behind the work that these men and women did. I'm very proud of what they did. Just wanted you to know that.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for keeping everybody safe and working hard, all of you. All right, Gina, anything? Tyler, anything? Ashley? All right, Dusty, or I'm sorry, Michelle. Dusty?
No.
Pat, anything?
Nothing additional.
All right, Chief?
Nothing further.
All right, perfect. And if that's the case, we'll move on to our annual reports, and we'll go with Public Works first.
Mike, do you have a clicker? All right, good evening. My name is Dustin Lee. I'm the Public Works Director here for the City of Spearfish, and I will be presenting the Public Works end of year report. A lot of slides. I apologize. We pared it down in interest of tonight and hopefully some discussion a little bit later on. We'll cover all the pertinent points though, and I think you'll get the information that you want. We'll start things off by talking about the Utilities Department. It's obviously comprised of the water, wastewater collection, and stormwater division. This is the department's mission statement. They are the quiet, consummate professional that you want working for the city, and I couldn't be prouder to be a part of that team. Here's an example of a few of the cameras as well as the collection van that some of the folks use there in the Utilities Department when they're doing inspections of infrastructure for city and for private projects. When they're out there in the collections van working on the private projects using these cameras, predominantly what they're doing is making sure that they're complying with the standards that the city sets forward for new development. We have miles upon miles of infrastructure that is done yearly that the city owns, and when we're out there cameraing our own infrastructure, we're looking for areas that we need to repair or replace, and that was no exception in 2019. Here you see some equipment that was used for a lift study that we partnered with HDR, Lift Station A over by Elkhorn Ridge. Now, as we continue to develop the area around there with workforce housing, private development of commercial and future residential, we needed to know the capability of Lift Station A. what it was currently doing and then what it's capable of doing. And if it wasn't capable of meeting our needs in the future, we needed to know how we were going to upgrade that. This study is ongoing, and we should hopefully get to the bottom of it here later this week or early next week with HDR. But it's a fascinating process, and I think we've collected some great data so far. The Utilities Department works closely with 811. Anytime anybody in the city needs to dig a hole, they obviously call 811 and get a locate. When they do that, the Utilities Department goes out there, paints some lines on the ground, and allows the individual to dig the hole without ripping up any of the utilities. We've responded to 1,360 of those locates throughout 2019. We also worked closely with them for mapping, dispatching, and then record keeping. So it keeps the guys busy. As with all departments in Public Works, safety is a main focus, and on this day, it was no exception. The Utilities Department partnered with the Fire Department and the wastewater treatment plant, and they did some amazing work for confined space rescue training. I have no doubt that the training that was done this day will ultimately save lives in the future. Fantastic training, and it was a fun day as well. In 2019, the Utilities Department built 2 pieces of safety equipment that the city couldn't operate without. This is the barricade trailer you see up there on the top, and then just below it there is our incident trailer. They're stored over at the Utilities Department Green Acres facility. They're designed to be used in conjunction with each other, and when the time is needed, I'm glad that we're going to have those ready to go and already built. As far as testing goes, we did a heck of a lot of testing this year. We did 53 fluoride tests, 120 bacteria sample tests, 12 disinfection byproduct tests, 2 volatile compound tests, and 14 synthetic organic compound tests, 6 nitrate tests. It's important to note that all of these tests were passed with flying colors. No issues, not even close to the limit that was set by the EPA. We also did a lot of hiring throughout the Public Works Department, and these are 2 examples of some of our best. On the left there, you have Brady Hansen, and on the right, Scott Williams. I shared a tropical smoothie with Scott today. We talked a lot about everything, and I couldn't be happier to have him on board. They're fantastic. They've been indoctrinated into the crew and are doing some great work for the city. Not shown here on the slide is the promotion of Miles to the superintendent position for the Utilities Department. He took the ball and ran with it, and I can say unequivocally that the Water Department, the Utilities Department has never ran smoother or more efficient. He has done an incredible job, absolutely incredible job. As far as the airport goes, we have a number of aircraft based there at the airport. Looks like we have about 82 regular airplanes and 1 cool airplane for a total of 83. We've sold just over 30,000 gallons of avgas and about 67 gallons of jet fuel for a total of, 5,224 sorties flown out of there over the year. And we have 10 people on our hangar wait list. So there's a number of people still out there looking to hangar their airplanes. On the streets, motor pool, solid waste, the rubble site, and snow removal. So the 2019 streets crew, also synonymous with the 2019 snow removal crew, are en masse in the back of the room back there. They are true professionals. They are hard workers. They always get the job done, and they get it done safely. I couldn't be more proud of them, and I'm super excited that they're here for tonight. Almost every one of them, except for Chris in the middle, is new for 2019, or at least new to their position. So you've got Dean there, Brandon on the left is the foreman, then Dean, Neil, Chris, Dion, and Josh. Absolutely amazing individuals, and again, I'm very thankful that they're here tonight. They do a great job for streets, and an absolute amazing job, like Mike alluded to in his speech there, with snow removal. And we'll cover some more of that here in just a little bit. Some of the projects that they've completed this year, if you've been over to Killian's lately, you probably noticed that that alley is no longer an eyesore. You can see the before and after pictures. An in-house project that was taken from the start all the way to the finish, and we've got a great alley that just looks fantastic, and it's continuing to improve our neighborhoods. In the city of Spearfish, if you get into any kind of a piece of equipment, you're going to get training on it. It hasn't happened every time in the past, but it happens every time from now on, and hopefully continuing on into the future. It's extensive training. It takes a lot of time, a lot of logistics, a lot of paperwork, but we do it. It's the right thing to do, and it's the safe thing to do. And that's happening every single day in the streets department. Our Green Acre shop, where we keep the utilities department, we have a lot of heavy equipment to drive around there. We have jet trucks, we have trash trucks, we have dump trucks, and literally the parking lot was crumbling beneath the wheels, but not anymore. The street department saw a need to fix this, and they did. You can see the before and after pictures there, and the result is a beautiful parking lot that we operate our heavy equipment on, and we will for years to come. We engineered it to withstand all that weight. It was absolutely a beautiful project, and we have an incredible finished product. Main Street in Michigan. If you remember that we had a settling road over there by Main Street in Michigan, and it was a head scratcher. It took a couple times to get this right. Partnering with the engineering department, we came up with a creative solution, and we were able to dig that down. We fought Mother Nature from the very beginning of this with rain, but we were able to do it, and it looks like, knock on wood, the fix is holding, and we have a nice solid street for the residents to drive on there. As far as motor pool goes, we recently promoted Mike Berry to the foreman position. There are 2 full-time mechanics and 1 part-time mechanic who works 2 days a week. And they're in charge of every piece of equipment, from a jet truck to a complicated trash truck to a lawnmower engine. They have an incredible responsibility to keep the fleet running, and they do a tremendous job. Mike Berry has instituted a number of plans and procedures for emergent triage work, where we prioritize what equipment gets worked on. We also have a plan for our long-range plan, which is incredible. Those guys are doing some great work in there. As an example, that collections truck that I showed you before that belongs to the utilities department, the water sewer department, in this picture is getting an interior remake. There's a lot of fabrication, a lot of one-off piece design, and now we have a collections truck that's even more ergonomic, more efficient, safer, and easier to use. And it was all done in-house. It's an absolute beast now for what they needed to do, and it's done in-house, like I was saying. Also, in the safety vein, we had a need for backup cameras on any heavy piece of equipment that we use for snowplow removal. To put these pieces of equipment together required mounting of cameras, running of wire, installation of video screens in the cab, and it was all done from 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time who worked 2 days a week. Herculean effort, but they did it, and it has helped us not have 1 accident, snowplow related, this entire season, which is absolutely incredible. We also had a bulldozer that lost a shoe there. You can see the track fell off of one of them, and bulldozers are not light. They're extremely heavy, complicated pieces of machinery. The 2 men that we spoke of fixed it. They built it back to the way it should be, in-house, on-site, and now that dozer is continuing to doze around the city of Spearfish, which is phenomenal. Trash trucks, like I had alluded to, are a complicated piece of machinery, and we use them a lot. You'll see the stats here in just a couple slides. They're complicated, they're smelly, they're big, and we had to do some major rehauls on 3 of the pack cylinders. Those were accomplished without incident in-house. With all of that being said, everything else that they have to take care of, from scheduled routine and preventative maintenance, they did 383 of those, and they did them like clockwork. We have a system in place. We know when the tires have to be rotated. We know when the oil has to be changed. It's just amazing in there. Mike Berry has taken over, and he has done a fantastic job in the motor pool department as well. Solid waste collection. Joel is our new guy on the team there. We also have Glenn, who's been there since they invented trash, and Dennis has been there a long time as well. We picked up a lot of garbage. A lot of garbage. 20.21 tons per day is what it works out to. I don't know what was going on in 2015 there, but comparatively, 2016, 17, and 18, when you look at 2019's numbers, we did a lot of work. We were driving around picking up a lot of garbage. 20.21 tons. And it costs a lot of money to drop that off at Bell. As far as the roll side goes, this is the unsung hero of the city. We have 1 full-time employee, and we have 2 recently hired part-time employees, and it brought in $120,000 for the city. Incredible. Dwight and Rich are our 2 new part-timers out there. They work long hours, 10-hour days, 7 days a week in the summertime. They're on the fringe of the city, and oftentimes they're forgotten about by the town. The county uses them a lot, as you can see from the graph out there. Total recycled, we recycled a lot of tires, a lot of batteries, a lot of metal, a lot of electronics, and we opened up the rubble site to the citizens for free. They took advantage of it, and you could see everything that was deposited there on those free days. We've also buried a lot of stuff out there in the rubble site. Snow removal, everybody's favorite topic as of late. The numbers that are on the screen there, you see the comparative numbers between 2018 and 2019, and they're very, very similar. You also see the wages between 2018 and 2019, and they're very similar. They are similar, but the numbers actually aren't reality for today. This is only taking into consideration our new plan for about 2, maybe 2.5 months, maybe December, maybe November, a little bit of October. So the plan that Brandon, the streets foreman / snow foreman, has been running with since this beginning of snow year aren't reflected in that data. What I'm really excited about is the 2020 end of year report, where we're going to see some incredible numbers, some eye-watering numbers. Mike Harmon took out a stubby pencil, we did some math, and it is amazing. The math is amazing. How much money we are saving the city for all of those other projects that we want to build. Rec paths, climbing walls, you name it. We're helping where we can with the budget there. Professional services is the same thing. That's only about 2.5 months of impact on that number. So stand by for the 2020 end of year report. It should be pretty neat. The incident rate is clouded numbers as well. Those are old numbers. I want to see what we're going to do in 2020. As I had said, we've had 0 incidents snow removal wise since we've started our safety push. And then those goals are pretty good goals to reach. And I think we're on track to beat them. As far as the wastewater treatment plant goes, boy, we have processed a lot of water. It's over 1 million gallons a day that we've processed out there as it goes through the water treatment plant. With a really wet year, I think it's important to note what that precipitation total was there for 2019. It also costs a lot of money. You can see that it's $1.5 million basically what it costs to process all of that waste as it flows into the wastewater treatment plant. About $4 for every 1,000 gallons that flows through. Absolutely incredible amount of money. For biosolids, we started a new plan in 2019 to handle the biosolids, and it's a byproduct of treating all that waste that we had talked about before. We get a lot of it, and it piles up quickly on our pads out at the water treatment plant. The new pilot program was to move these biosolids to Gillette, and then Gillette turns around and sells them. It allows us to quickly get through a lot of product. We don't have to jump through a lot of red tape, and they're allowing us to drop them off there for free because they're turning around and selling them. The other way of doing it was to pay for Belle Fourche to take the biosolids from us. And you can see that we moved 226 metric tons over to Gillette and 165 to Belle. So it's a great program. It's working out fantastic. Gillette loves it. We love it. It's working out very, very well. And it was the brainchild of Bob over at the water treatment plant. We're about 64% capacity for the water treatment plant, so we're right where we're hoping to be. A lot of projects have been done over there, and we'll cover a few of them. We installed 2 new RAS pumps, and installing 2 new RAS pumps how complicated it was a surprise to me. You just don't unbolt them and bolt in the new RAS pump. There's cement work, there's physics, there's all kinds of things that have to go into it to make sure that these pumps are working correctly. And it was done all in-house from these magicians that do this over there at the water treatment plant every single day. True professionals. It's amazing. One of the cooler things that we did, we were struck by lightning out there at the water treatment plant last year, and it broke one of our safety switches that turns the plant over to a backup generator in the event that we lose power. That switch melted when we were hit by lightning, and we had to come up with a creative solution to fix it. We couldn't let the plant go down because it processes a lot of waste every single day. So we brought in the largest generator we could find and hooked it up to the plant, switched the plant over to the generator, had every person that we could out there with an electrical engineering degree on standby just in case something happened, fixed that, and then took it down. We actually had to do it twice, but it was done safely, and we had all the equipment in place and all the people that needed to be there in place. We thought through all the contingencies. It was a really neat evolution, and I was excited to be part of it. Also, the northeast oxidation ditches, they rotate through these to make sure that we don't have to bring the plant down. So every other year, a different oxidation ditch goes through its rehab. And let me tell you, that is a thankless job. You can imagine, so the oxidation ditches hold a lot of the sewage as it's being processed. So these men and women are in there cleaning and scrubbing for days to get this cleaned. And the final product is a brand new, shiny oxidation ditch. It's pretty neat. For government buildings, in the interest of security, now Canyon Admin and the mechanic shop is on a key fob system like City Hall is, so you can't access that building without one of the key fobs. So that was a great addition for security for us. If you've been past the water slide and you've looked inside there, you can see a humongous difference between the two different pictures there. Gary was out there every day in the summertime painting those water slides, and it looks absolutely amazing. They did a great job recoating the water slides. He's also saving us a lot of money. There was a effort to switch everything from regular light bulbs to LED light bulbs. Stop me if you know the answer, hang on. Translucent? No, we can see through them. What's the name? Incandescent light bulbs to LED light bulbs. And you can see that the savings, as we started it in 2017 to 2019 when we finished it, it was actually 2018 December timeframe, we finished the conversion. 40,000 bucks we've saved over that time frame. Absolutely amazing, and they're continuing to do the fire department and everything else around the city. It's money in the pocket of the city, so great call whoever decided to do that 3 years ago, and then the government program they're continuing to do it, so really neat savings. Yeah, $40,000 there. We're also good at waxing, swabbing the deck, so you can see the difference here at the two floors in the fire station. Transformed it, and we didn't have to rip up that tile and do it again. So it's not just as simple as throwing down a wax and then running over it a couple times with a brush. You got to strip it, you got to prep it, you got to wax it, you got to hold everybody from walking on it. It's complicated stuff. As you can see here at the pavilion, before and after pictures, it's like the garden there at Madison Square Gardens. It's fantastic, and they did it all in-house. Here they, oops, don't want to miss this because this was a lot of work too. Here it is in Canyon Admin. That's pretty nice. The log cabin over here in the park, got a brand new door on it, waxed some bushes, and now we have a nicer front there to the Brady Park shed. The mechanics shop with Mike Berry had a floor that was deteriorating very rapidly. It just looked absolutely terrible. With the forethought there from Gary, we put in a whole new floor, and now they've got a nice new clean space to have their break room in. Gary also took over all of the supply. So anytime anybody needs anything, government buildings is where they go. And it's located up here in Eric's closet just in front of Kaya's office, which is a convenient place for that to happen. There's more of the continued switch over from LED. And Gary is one of the most safety conscious people that you could talk to. He's installed placards, checked fire extinguishers, the smoke detectors everywhere. He is safety all day, every day, and it's pretty awesome. He also was in charge of the HVAC upgrade in City Hall. And it might seem like just a pittance of amount of money between 2018 and 2019, a couple, 4,000 bucks or whatnot, but you compound that over a number of years, and there's some serious savings that we're going to have there by upgrading that HVAC system. These guys are phenomenal. 2 new employees in Public Works. You got Pat and Sam, and I've never seen harder working, more dedicated individuals. Phenomenal. If you've been in Canyon Admin, if you were in Canyon Admin in 2018 and you come into Canyon Admin in 2019, you can eat off the floor. You would love to spend some time in there. They take pride in their work, and it's really nice to see. They're happy to be there, and they know their stuff. They're also champions of the bump outs downtown for snow removal. They're out there with shovels at 4 or 5 in the morning clearing those bump outs to make sure the sidewalks in the downtown business district are clean. It is thankless work, and they do it happily every single time it snows. Amazing employees. And Tyler, Sam used to work for Tyler, and he was nice enough to recommend him to come over to Public Works, and I thank him publicly for that. They've also done a lot of painting. They painted everywhere. They probably painted in here, but you can see a list of it all as they continue to go around the city. They've done a lot of carpet install. In Michelle's office downstairs, it was a heck of an effort to chip out all the old stuff and then reinstall this nice new carpet to modernize it. And it looks fantastic, and I know everybody's appreciative of their hard work there. On to the hydro plant, another moneymaker for the city. You can see month by month how much that is generating, and it's done with 3 people. 3 people out there running that plant, and it's generating more power than it ever has in its existence. Absolutely amazing. They're also hard at work. They're conscious of security and safety, and they've installed new security cameras throughout the facility to make sure that they're in compliance with what we want to have happen. A while back, Tyler in the safety department created a document that had all kinds of hazards identified called a HAZ log. And this is an example of the crew out there trying to fix some of those things on the HAZ log. It's an extremely old building, and they're trying to make it as safe as they can, while still taking into consideration it's a historic building, which is no easy task. Gary is the superintendent out there. He's a mad scientist, and he likes to work on electronics. He's also a certified master electrician. He is taking the reins and single-handedly upgrading the hydro plant's SCADA system, as well as the dam's SCADA system. It's pretty neat. If you get a chance to talk to him about it, he will blow your mind with flux capacitors and whatnot. We also had an interesting problem out there at the intake this last winter when it was frozen up with ice. Can't have that. That would be a catastrophe for us, but they put their heads together and they came up with a creative solution, a safe, creative solution. We got our tractor out, we started to break up the ice and fixed it. Water flowed through the dam with no problem, but it took some thinking, and we did it. On to a Public Works admin assistant. Nancy is a new hire this year as well. She's basically reinvented the wheel. There was very, very little passed down between her and the old Nancy that was in there, but she's taken the reins and she ran with it. Absolutely amazing job, because it was literally starting from scratch, and I don't know how she did it, how she pieced together everything, but she did. Just a couple of the things that have been done by her, and by no means is this an all-inclusive list. I couldn't give you an all-inclusive list because I have no idea all the things she does daily. But to help with that, if for some reason she ever decides to leave the city, she's created a procedures manual that details all of the stuff that she does every single day, which is a great asset to have. So she's thinking forward, and at some point when her replacement comes in, it's going to be a much easier transition. We have a tremendous amount of items in the city that we want to surplus. It's a tremendous amount of items, and she has wrapped her hands around the process, streamlined it, and now we have a process for systematically getting rid of all of the things that we need to surplus, and we'll be bringing these things to City Council, which we've already done once since she started this process. We have a staging area, we have forms. It's great. It's running like clockwork. And then when we do get a citizen who has a concern or a complaint, she's created a form that, again, helps streamline the process. She takes the complaint down, or the compliment, and has a contact number to call back. She gives it to the correct department head, and now all the information is documented. She also inputs it into a spreadsheet, so we have a history of all of the complaints. We have callback numbers for anybody that wants to leave one. We have addresses, and then the department head gets notified, and then they can send the correct person out there. So it's triaging real time, and it's a fantastic solution. And that is the 2019 Public Works end of year report.
So, any questions? All right, well, thank you, Dusty. Appreciate that. And Amber, we'll let you come up and give a report on the library.
All right, mine's a little shorter. We're a smaller department, so this should be fairly brief. We spent a lot of time this year working on upgrades to the website, helping the city with that, and our own, updating our own online catalog system, doing some training, working on some behind-the-scenes collection updating and that kind of stuff. So not a lot of big flashy things, but I'm going to show you some numbers that'll kind of give you an idea of what keeps us busy during the year. We added 746 new patron cards during 2019, which puts us at a little over 7,300 current active cards. That's actually down a little bit because we did a big purge. We get rid of old expired cards that nobody's been using. So those are all current active patrons. Our collection right now is at 66,237 items, and that is the physical collection. Those are the things that are inside the library: magazines, not newspapers, but magazines, books, audiobooks, movies. Anything that we barcode and we send out the door and check out is going to be included in that. Our collection usually ranges right in that 65,000 range because we pretty much are limited. We can't go much more than where we're at and actually physically fit on the shelves. You'll see that next number, though, is our digital collection, the electronic books and audiobooks, and that continues to increase. We're almost to 30,000 items, and that's a shared collection within our consortium that we all put money towards, and we're able to continue to grow that. There's really no limit when you're dealing with digital items, and so that's where we can kind of continue to grow our options. The next numbers I wanted to show you there are the expenses for the library. The first number is the city of Spearfish expenses, that $211,028. That is everything that the city spent on library last year. That is our budget, including books, salaries, that kind of thing, as well as our share of the utilities for the building, our share of the copy machine, depreciation, anything that was an expenditure for the city's end. And then the Lawrence County funding is at $230,421, which is what it's been for 12 years, as long as I've been here. So right at that same amount there. Just to give you guys an idea of how that breakdown works. I'm going to show you some circulation statistics. You can see on the right there, I've got the numbers for 2018, and on the left are this 2019 figures. See a few things that have gone down a little bit, not substantial. Adult books, audiobooks, like CD books, like physical CDs, have gone down a little bit. But our movies and our children's books are both going up a decent number there. And then you can really see the increases in our digital collection. The ebooks and the digital audiobooks have jumped quite a bit just this last year, and they continue to grow. We've had the digital collection for, I think, since 2011 or 2012, and it is just constantly growing since we started that. I think that you'll see that continue to expand. All ages are interested in them, and we're constantly training people on those. The total there, that digital increase actually is what continues to make our circulation total numbers go up every year. I mentioned our consortium that we use for ebooks. That's the Black Hills Library Consortium. We are a founding member, which is 12 members. We started in 2015, so we're well into it now, and it's going very well. It allows us to maintain decent pricing for our computer system, for our ebooks. We're able to collaboratively purchase, and then also increases the resources for our citizens because we can access the collections of Rapid City and Sturgis and Lead, all the way down to Edgemont, Wall. We share books amongst each other so that we don't all have to try to house everything that people are looking for. Because like I said, we do have a limited amount of space. So that continues. One of the new things that the consortium accomplished this year was the ability to access our ebook collection while searching our regular catalog. So you can access both collections at the same time and get the results. Makes it a little bit easier for our patrons. Library programs, I just kind of wanted to throw a snapshot up there of all the things that my staff do throughout the year. We've got our homebound service for those of our community members that cannot get out, that really need their books or whatever it is they're needing. We have a staff member that helps assist in getting the materials to them. People in assisted livings or in the senior apartments are our primary clientele. We have some volunteers that assist when we get quite a few of those. So far it hasn't been a huge amount, but we get anywhere from 5 to 10 at any one time that are in the program. Computer classes and tech help are one of the most popular programs that people are looking for, and we do a weekly program, whether it be an actual class or just an open time for people to come in and ask their questions. When you start looking at how much we do online now, all of the job interview or job applications, assistance applications, anything that you do is pretty much required to do online anymore, and there's a lot of our community members that need assistance with that. And so we take care of that. They can bring their devices in and we can show them how to use them. We can just offer them assistance in building a resume, things like that, that maybe they just need a little bit of help with. And so that's been really big. We continue to offer creative outlets for people, painting classes and craft sessions for all ages. And then of course our more traditional children's programs like story times, Lego clubs are really popular in the elementary age kids. And then our summer reading program where we offer programs to all ages. We get upwards of 400 people involved in that program every summer, so that one's big. This last year we did space, and this next year the theme is going to be fantasy and fairy tales. So, and then the last thing I want to mention is that we are actually celebrating our 75th anniversary this year. The Grace Valley Memorial Library opened in June of 1945, so we'll be getting something together for a celebration, and we'll get you more details on that. Any questions?
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Amber. And Parks and Rec.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Council, for giving me the opportunity to present the 2019 Parks and Rec end-of-year report. Before I jump into that, a big portion of my job last year was not only Park and Rec, but was safety. Mike had made a big push to change the safety culture in 2019, and as part of that, being hired as the park director, it was tasked to me to implement that change. But I want to say right up front, as we go through this, I did not do this alone. Dusty's been instrumental. Mike has been great at pushing this. The staff have been great with taking on the new safety culture. When you see some of the things that we've done, some of the steps we've taken, and the amount of things that we've changed, it's incredible. And we spent very little dollars doing it. So before I get into the Park and Rec, I'd like to spend a few moments celebrating our successes in the safety program. Dusty talked a little bit about it, but I'll go in a little bit more detail. It's truly incredible. We got our numbers back. It's really good news. So in 2019, I began the process of implementing a new safety program, which included writing a new manual. We currently have a 115-page manual that's being revised and reviewed by leadership and the safety committee, hoping to have that finalized and adopted by you guys in 2020. So we have a living document that we can live off of for our staff. Safety training, we developed a new employee safety training. So any employee, whether you're a street tech, a library page, a park tech, assistant finance officer, everybody goes through the same 2-day safety onboarding training. General safety training, back safety, lockout, tagout, all the things that you should probably know no matter your position. On top of that, we've developed a citywide monthly training using Black Hills Energy, safety benefits, police, fire, and in-house resources to help us have a once-a-month safety training for staff, and we implemented that starting in January of this year. And then Dusty mentioned the hazard log. In December of 2018, we had several staff conduct citywide inspections, so they went through all the vehicles, all the buildings, all of our procedures, and they came up with, I think the number was 653 hazards that they found within the city, ranking from low, medium, and high. And in 2019, staff closed out 360 of those hazards. That is a true testament to how much work they've actually put into this. We're using this as a proactive tool to fix issues before someone gets hurt, so it's really trying to be proactive rather than reactive, rather than trying to fix something after the fact. We created a safety committee that started in November. It's composed of delegates from each department. They meet monthly and talk about recent accidents, incidents, injury, HAZLOG progress, safety trends around the city, and help to develop policies and procedures for the city to then adopt. They're currently working on a motor vehicle use policy for the city, and so the safety committee has been a really great thing and has a lot of energy. They created their own mission statement, which you can see there, and they set 4 goals for 2020 to cut the incident rate, to conduct a citywide PPE inspection, create a motor vehicle use policy, and conduct emergency action plan training and implementation in 2020. So that's been a great thing. And a lot of these things I'm showing you, we've spent very little money, just a lot of effort and staff time on. We implemented a safety award program that rewards safe behavior. Employees can earn up to $200 a year in safety bucks, and then be spent on an online, basically a City of Spearfish Amazon account that has almost 13,000 items on it. That was rolled out in February of this year, and in the first month we awarded $555 in safety points. Accident incident tracking, we've combined all injury and property damage claims into one spreadsheet. This allows us to see trends within departments, within employees, within procedures, and we were able to make some changes and helped us make our operations safer just by tracking those. Dusty mentioned snow removal. I think it was, as of February of last year, we were having almost 1 incident per event. Since February of last year, we have not had a single incident during snow removal, just by making some of these changes, so that's a huge improvement. So here's where you start to get the results of it. Our loss ratio, so our 3-year loss ratio for the city is 31.16, 34.05, and 5 years 43.46. So that's just a number, right, until you start comparing it to things. Compared to a year ago, those same numbers were 48.48, 59.24, and 56.14. And for comparison, against Class 1 municipalities, we're well below them in all the categories. Now this is where it really gets interesting. Our fund modifier for the city of Spearfish decreased from 1.26 in 2019 to 1.14 in 2020. So what does that mean? When we pay our workman's comp fund, 1.0 is the average that they use. So we were paying in 2019 26% higher than other municipalities within the state that do the same exact job we do because of our safety history. Because of 2015 being a pretty claim-heavy year, that number dropped off, which lowered our fund modifier down to 1.14. So what does it all mean? So in 2019, we spent roughly $50,000 in additional workman's comp insurance in 2019 due to our claim history. In 2020, we were paying just over $31,000 additionally, which is, we're still paying more than we should be, but we've dropped that number. That's a reduction of $18,000 in 1 year. If our fund modifier had stayed the same, we were actually paying closer to $58,000. And so because that fund modifier has dropped, we're saving roughly $27,000 this year on workman's comp that can go into other things. And we were much safer in 2019 than 2015 through 2018, and this is the number that I find staggering. From 15 to 18, we had on average 32.75 workman's comp claims every year, costing an incurred loss average to the city of almost over $65,000. In 2019, we had 12 claims costing $9,000. So not only did we cut our claims by almost 20, the claims that we were having were less severe. So that is a huge improvement. And it wasn't 1 year that threw that off. Between 15 and 18, it was somewhere between 30 and 35 every year. So we've cut that number tremendously. So with that, I want to congratulate the staff, the leadership, the supervisors, the field staff. They've really embraced this culture, and we've seen a huge difference. And I'm looking forward to 2020 on the safety side. So I think everybody deserves a round of applause for the safety side. It's been a huge improvement. So, yeah.
For everyone's efforts on that as well.
Yeah, it's been huge.
Safety's huge.
All right, moving on to Parks and Rec. I'm going to give you a brief overview from my perspective, and I'm going to let my guys come up and really brag about their departments. I told them it was really incredible, and hopefully as we go through this presentation, you'll see how much we got accomplished in 2019. 2019, the weather was probably some of the worst, wettest years we've ever seen. The park staff was at 50% for most of the summer, and we had more capital improvement projects in the Parks Department than I've ever seen since I've worked here since 2007. And so as we go through this, you'll see it's pretty incredible the fact that because of Rex and Brett, the things that got done. So I want them to be able to come up and present their accomplishments to you guys. So from my end, we're going to talk about a few things here. Try to go quick. The Park and Rec Department applied for and received $575,000 in grants last year. We received $400,000 from the Transportation Alternative Grant Program for the Exit 8 path construction, another $100,000 in RTP grants for the Exit 8 path construction, $70,000 from the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for the pickleball courts, which actually just got started today. Staff was down starting the demo. So that project will take place this year. And then we got a $5,000 South Dakota Resource Conservation and Forestry grant that's going to allow us to do some tree inventories that Rex applied for and got. So that's $575,000 in free money to the city for projects that we can accomplish. With the help of the Park Board, staff created and implemented an Emerald Ash Borer action plan for the city. This plan really helped us get that $5,000. So the state asked us if we had a plan in place. We said, yep, we sure do. And they said, great, here's your $5,000, go hire some interns to do a tree inventory this year. So that was instrumental in that. And it's being implemented this winter, and Rex is going to touch more on the forestry side of it, the field work that's going on. Lookout Mountain, with the help of the Park Board, staff created a 3-year grazing lease on Lookout Mountain. Input was received from local producers, the NRCS, Morris County Conservation District. We took it to the Park Board for their input. And what we came up with was a 3-year lease with a 2-year option. We shortened the duration that the cattle are allowed on the mountain. We put the cattle on the mountain later in the year to avoid all the wet season and the erosion issues. We got better disbursement over the entire mountain. I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but in years past, they're always on that west-facing slope by the interstate. This year I had to call to even see if they were up there because they were all over the rest of the mountain, which gave us way better disbursement. And ultimately, the goal was to have less interaction between rec users and cattle. I think I had one call all year with an interaction between the rec user and cattle, so that was a success. Moving on to campground, our 2019 revenue was $465,110. That's nearly $81,000 more than 2018. In 2019, our expenses were $294,986, which was just over $25,000 more than 2018. Looking into that, a big chunk of that was an insurance claim that we got reimbursed for. We had a light pole get ran over, and we had to pay for it out of pocket and then got reimbursed for it. So total profit for the campground was $170,123, just under $56,000 more than 2018. And keep in mind, we lost the entire Memorial Day weekend because we had 18 inches of snow on the ground. And so we lost that. Plus our full rally rate change hadn't taken effect yet either. So I'm guessing 2020 will be even a better year for the campground as far as profits go. Moving on to the Rec and Aquatic Center, some big changes we had there is we converted an admin assistant to a special event assistant. This person is responsible for all special events that take place within the city, is kind of being the go-to as far as the city staff coordinating all those. Government building rentals, shelter rentals. Our new website allows us to schedule all of our sports fields, which is a first for Spearfish. We've never been able to schedule our own sports fields. Our new software allows that. And then key control as well. We also worked with Public Works and government buildings and brought the maintenance staff at the rec center back under the supervision of the Rec and Aquatics Facility Superintendent for some more direct interaction. So we've undergone some budget cuts, so now we're trying to figure out new ways to generate revenue. The staff came up with some great ideas to generate new revenue at the rec center, so they came up with the idea of corporate memberships. Basically what it is a discounted rate on memberships if a local business signs up their employees, does some legwork for us, and then pays us in full. Right now we have Nyman Enterprises and the Northern Hills Training Center are two of our biggest participants in that program, and we're really going to push that in 2020. Also banner sales. We charge $500 per banner, and it's hung in the gymnasium. And then for 2020, we're actually offering 30 banner spots at the water park along the fence for free advertising. That's about $15,000 in revenue that could be generated just off banner sales. So looking forward to that. Here's the rec center revenue and expense at a glance. 2019, all funds just over $1 million in revenue. The expenses were $1.4 million. That comes out to a supplement of $361,593. When you factor in 17 and 18 and bring the maintenance staff back into that to compare apples to apples, that supplement dropped tremendously. So in 18 and 19, we cut expenses by $124,000 and cut that supplement by $180,000. If you look at the percent recovered, that's 75% in all funds. Now that's a little bit skewed because we get some third penny dollars, and I have a chart that's gonna show that a little bit better. If you're just looking at general fund, that's on the right there. We generated about $807,000 in the general fund. Expenses were just over $1.1 million. That made that supplement $361,613. That gives us a 69% recovery rate on our operational. So that 69% is just a number, right? I didn't know if that was good, bad, or indifferent, so I wanted to compare that to other rec centers. So I compared to Deadwood, Sturgis, and Belfouche, and this is what I came up with. Deadwood in 2019 actually only recovered 29.3% of their expenses for their rec center. Sturgis I had their projected, they didn't have their actuals up yet, but their 18 actuals, they recovered 33%. Same thing with Belfouche, their 2018 actuals were 19.1% recovery. If you look at our general fund, and that's basically what theirs, I'm comparing is their general funds, we recovered 69.06. And if you want to take into all operations, which I think we should, because we get some third penny dollars that go to electricity and marketing and whatnot, we recovered 59.51% of our expenses at the rec center. So as you can see, for our rec center in our community, we're doing substantially better than all of our regional competitors. So I'm very proud of that fact. And cutting out another $85,000 this year out of the budget, I'm hoping that number is even bigger when I give you my 2020 report. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rex, and he's going to talk about park rec and forestry and all the things that they got done last year.
Well, thank you, Tyler. Yeah, 2019 was a very busy year for us. We had a lot going on, and it was a lot of fun. So I'll go through that briefly, kind of all the things we got accomplished for Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. Starting out with the Let's Play Library. Similar to the little free libraries you see around town, this was a partnership with a faculty member at BHSU, Dr. Breon Derby. She contacted us, and she had applied for a grant and got some money to put this in, so we helped her install it, and she keeps it stocked with different outdoor recreation items, basketballs, tennis balls, soccer balls, all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of fun. It's kind of a neat addition. We see a lot of people using it, and Dr. Derby does a good job of keeping it stocked up when we need it. We did Cameron's Expression Swing at Brady Park. The swing was donated by Dustin and Christy Schumacher in memory of their daughter Cameron. We put that up in the spring of last year, and down at Brady Park, it really turned out nice. Kennedy's Playground at Jorgensen Park. This was a partnership with the Kennedy Jean Weiss Foundation. It was a community build. We had several volunteers that came in. As you can see from some of the pictures here, the weather wasn't the greatest on the days we actually did have the volunteers come in, but the Kennedy Jean Weiss Foundation had done a great job of recruiting volunteers to come in before that happened. We still had a really good turnout, and we're really happy with the way that things turned out over there. Reserve Park and the Reserve Subdivision. This was a partnership between the City of Spearfish and the Reserve Subdivision Homeowners Association. This got installed in summer of last year. The wood chips were donated by Spearfish Forest Products, and we're really happy with the way that turned out as well. The shade structures at Salem Park, these were installed in March of 2019. Really added a nice element to that playground. As you can see, kind of the before and after pictures, bright sunny day, and they got the nice shade right there on the playground stuff, so those are nice. Lookout Mountain Park, we had a few different projects going on up at Lookout this year. We improved the trail markers and the wayfaring signage. This was done in part as an Eagle Scout project we did with Noah Buckbolts. He came and presented to the council his project and his idea. Basically, we went up there and we placed 15 different markers around the mountain. And then we got the aluminum signage donated by the Spearfish Bike Skills Park organization. As you can see, the picture on the right there is kind of a before and after picture. So the small brown carcinite post on the right, that's what we had there before. We had issues of them breaking, falling over, and it was kind of hard to tell where you're going right now. You know, the marker on the left there is obviously bigger, a little more prominent. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from the community and users up there. So we're really happy with how that turned out. Another project we had at Lookout was we were able to adopt an MOU with Black Hills Trails to go up and perform trail maintenance. This had to be granted through the State of South Dakota Wildlife Foundation. We came up with stipulations, basically creating a corridor around the trail that we can keep vegetation free, so 3 foot on either side of the trail and up to 10 feet over the trail. Gave us some really good direction on what we can do with our trail maintenance. And that MOU was created with input from the Park Recreation and Forestry Advisory Board. The picture I like, the picture on the left there, that was a volunteer day they had. They would do it like once a week, and they could get, you know, upwards of 20 people out there, so they can really get a lot accomplished in just a couple short hours. The picture in the middle right there is a hole that's about 6 feet deep that was on one of the trails, right in the middle of one of the trails. It was just part of a washout. Came running right down the hillside, created that as a very bad hazard to have right in the middle of the trail. You kind of come up on it really quick. It's actually right around the corner. The picture on the right there is kind of the after shot after we were able to put in a culvert and build up some dirt around it, and that was all done through Black Hills Trail. So we're really happy to have them on board and helping us out up there. Another project at Lookout Mountain was the Nevada Street Trailhead Tunnel that was painted by members of the Black Hills State University Art Club. They volunteered their time and their efforts and came in, really did a nice job of cleaning it up and making it just nice to look at the artwork as you go through there. Really happy with how that turned out. Later in the fall, we did an Adopt a Creek project at Jorgensen Park. This was a partnership with the Everything is Awesome First Lego League team from Spearfish Middle School. They had contacted me and said that they wanted to do a creek cleanup, and so we basically assisted them in taking the debris that they were able to remove after the event was over, promoting it on social media. It was a community volunteer event, and they were able to collect over 100 pounds of litter going along a 1 mile stretch on Spearfish Creek. So that was a really fun event to be a part of. We upgraded our Indian Springs sign. The sign we had up there had outlived its useful life, so we decided to take advantage of a seasonal employee we had by the name of Shay Lar. She was also an art student at BH, and so she came and helped us out for the last couple of weeks of the summer and painted up that nice sign, and we were able to get it installed last fall. We're going to do some additional landscaping around there this spring. Spearfish City Campground. Tyler touched on the revenues and the expenses and whatnot. The total occupancy we had was 22,079 adults and children, occupied 9,815 spots. We had guests from all 50 states, with South Dakota leading the way at just over 3,000, Minnesota residents at just over 1,000, and then almost 1,000 residents from Wyoming visiting our campground. One of the things that Tyler and I like to do on occasion throughout the summer is check out our campground reviews online. So there's a few different websites you can go to, just kind of get some input and some feedback back from our users. RV Life, you can see 8.7 out of 10, which puts us in the excellent category. TripAdvisor gave us, we had 4 out of 5 stars, and Google search, 4.6 out of 5 stars. And you'll see that that was up from 3.5 stars out of 5 in 2018. The picture there was taken on May 23rd, 2019, after we had over a foot of snow that fell during the spring blizzard, which, like Tyler said earlier, affected our Memorial Day numbers, but it was actually turned out to be really good training. We were able to get a lot of people, a lot of our seasonals were on board by then. We were able to get them trained on how to properly go about cleaning up debris after a major snow event like that. So it was good for us, and we're hoping that we don't have anything like that again this year, but we'll be ready for it if we do. Also, down at the campground, we had a shed that was donated by Black Hills Energy. We were very appreciative of that. We moved it from its current location, or its former location over on Hillsview and Upper Valley Road, and moved it over to the campground. So we poured a slab of concrete and stuck the shed on there, and it's really been a nice addition to the campground. Rose Hill Cemetery in 2019, we had 41 grave spaces sold, 50 total burials, of which 22 were standard vaulted, 25 cremations, and 3 virtual. We had the cemetery walk in October, which we got good reviews on, and also our Memorial Day celebration. That's kind of our big one every year. The American Legion organized the Honor Guard tour of our cemetery. The Degree of Honor provided coffee and cookies out of our shop up there, and the local Boy Scout troop presented the flags. If any of you are able to make it to this coming Memorial Day's celebration, I highly recommend it. I went to this one, it was my first one there, and it was very enjoyable. They did a very nice job. Spec Rec, we put bike kiosks and repair stations along the rec path. This was a partnership between the city and Bike Spearfish. So it kind of mimics the one that's downtown on Hudson and Main. We have 2 more. This one is down by City Park, by the exercise equipment, just on the north side of the bridge going to the campground, and then we put in another one over at Jorgensen Park. This is a virtual tour of the Exit 8 Rec Path Phase 1. Just a quick flyover here of what it's going to look like. So as you can see, that's a lot of new rec path that's going to be going in during Phase 1. We're pretty excited about it. Looking forward to what this is going to do for our community on the north end of town there and connecting us to the entire trail system. From the forestry end of things, we had our Arbor Day celebration held at City Park. Last April, we planted 2 trees with members of the community. We were recognized for our 36th year as a Tree City USA through the National Arbor Day Foundation. We plan on having another Arbor Day event this year coming up, and we'll be sure to let you guys know about that. They're really fun. We're going to be doing it with kind of a partnership with a local daycare, so we're going to have a bunch of kids running around throwing dirt at each other, so that's going to be fun. As I mentioned earlier, the Emerald Ash Borer Action Plan was adopted by the Council on October 7th. Park staff has begun selective removal of ash trees in the parks, campground, cemetery, and along the rec path. So far, we have 30 of 35 removals complete for this year. As part of the Emerald Ash Borer Action Plan, we were able to secure a Urban Challenge Fund grant awarded by the State of South Dakota Department of Ag to begin our citywide tree inventory. Right now, we are interviewing for our 2 summer interns. We've got a lot of good candidates, so I'm pretty excited about what we'll be able to do with that this summer. Tree planting plan for 2020, trees will be selected to diversify our urban canopy. So we want to use the 10-20-30 rule. 10% of any one species, 20% of any one genus, and 30% of any one family. Those are going to be planted to replace the ash trees that are being removed. So we'll be planting at the campground, City Park, Brady Park, Jorgensen Park, Lookout Park, and along the rec path. We've also been approached and had some ideas about creating these community food forests. This was from Josh Larson. He's the state forester out of Rapid City. Provided us some neat plans. This will be a mix of fruit-bearing trees and shrubs that we would plant in various areas, which would produce food, and people would be able to go and help themselves. We're also looking at planting a lot more pollinator-friendly landscaped areas this year, including at RSVP, the Rec Center, Rotary Park, and Indian Springs. There will be a mix of native, hardy perennials, and annuals. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or I'll hand it over to Brett.
Questions? All right. Thank you, Rex. Appreciate it. All right, Brett.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Rex and his crew for this project. This was putting the new turf in part of the on the water park there. As most people know, that area used to be a parking lot, And the soil there is not great for growing grass, especially with the foot traffic that it gets throughout the summer. So we started replacing some of the sod area with turf. So those guys did an awesome job of putting that in for us this year. So. A new event we did this year was Ties and Tiaras. It was a mother-son dance. Had a total of almost 100 participants. Partnered with the Girl Scouts. They helped us serve drinks and desserts. And down on the picture on the left corner of the green shirt is Park Director Tyler, Parks and Rec Director Tyler. So make sure you ask him about how that was and how his sweet moves were. So. Rally Camp, that's a newer thing we did as well. So we have our summer rec program, and then 2 years ago we added what we call Rally Camp. It was a 2-week program then. We switched it in 2019 to a 1-week camp. Really intense camp compared to our summer rec program. It included an excursion every day. They went somewhere different, including all the what places you saw there. Partnered with different things when we went there. We did some cleaning out of the Humane Society. Got the full tour at the Heritage Center. Most of the kids, surprisingly, actually had never really been out there, which is pretty amazing. So got to really kind of tour our own city for that camp and did a different tour every day. So. Our fitness equipment upgrade, we upgraded quite a few things in 19. We got the new treadmills there that you see. Those replaced treadmills that were original to the facility from 2009. So got about 10 years out of the life of those. Got a new squat rack in our cycle strength area, and then developed a stretching and warm-up area outside of our training room. We just continued to grow in that area, needed a place for people to go and kind of warm up that wasn't inside of the actual training room space. So it was kind of a space that we were somewhat using for storage and somewhat using for some other stuff, and definitely defined it as that stretching warm-up area. Staff bios and pictures posted. We went through, all of our staff filled out this questionnaire that you see here, and then all of the pictures. We've got a professional photographer who does the face bender collection, came in and took photographs of all of us. So on our hallway now down in the rec center is a list of all of our staff and their answers to all these questions. Some of them are online as well, so if you go to our website you can see some of this information, and it's been a great conversation starter. Some members have came up and didn't even know that we had certain staff that worked different times of day and things like that, or that certain staff did certain jobs and things like that. So it's been a great way to kind of introduce our patrons to our staff in a little bit more intimate way. New entrance process at the water park. As some of you know, we on busy days can really get a line built up on hot days, things like that. So we added 2 additional registers on for those busy days that help the lines move quicker. They're credit card only lines, so we just run them through as quick as we can. Another thing that we did there was we brought lifeguards up to help wristband and things before it got busy out on the pool deck, as we were getting the people in to help get them in the building quicker. And then changed the positions of, because we used to have a front desk attendant and a concessions worker, and then we changed it to one position, so those staff were trained both at the front desk and in concessions, so they could efficiently move back and forth between the 2 areas, and that allowed us to hire a few less staff to kind of do the same job because they were more trained in those areas to do those tasks. The linking fences, our project, so a couple of years ago we had one that included the different kind of mountains that we have around, and then the same artist came through back last year and added this, as you can see here. It's a river moonscape theme, so everything you see there, you see the moon, and it's actually a reflection of the moon on the river. And most of what you see in the moon part was made out of recycled products and mostly denim. So we had a huge pile of old jeans at the rec center for a while as she was working through that. It's all weaved through the fence itself. According to the artist, it should last for 5 to 10 years as long as the denim holds up. So really cool process to watch. Our staff helped out a little bit just with cutting some denim and things like that when they had some time. So just a really cool thing to have there in the building, and very visible also as you're coming by the water park there. Babysitting class, we just started that in 2019. Had 12 participants in our first class and 11 in the second one. They do get certified in first aid and CPR. As you can see there, we're really trying to prevent the thing from the right happening. So teaching them how to deal with those types of things. But it's been great. We actually just did one last weekend too for our first one in 20, and it was full as well. So they are Red Cross class and are fully certified when they leave with a babysitting certificate through the Red Cross. So. Our craft fair all of a sudden this year exploded. So in years past, we'd usually have between 30 and 40 vendors. This year we had 73 vendors, rented 78 tables, which I'm not kidding when I say that's every available table in the rec center. I found some tables and brought them down, and Wayne asked me, my maintenance guy's like, where'd that table come from? So didn't even hardly know they were there. The event moved from just the lookout room to also the North Gym, and possibly looking at making it a multi-day event in the future, kind of maybe a winter kind of festival type thing. So hoping that continues to grow. Great job for Kayla. Did an awesome job. She's kind of the lead on that project and just really made it something awesome. So archery classes. So this is something that we really have added in 2019 as well. We used to do about one a year. And in 19 we did 3. We did 2 beginner classes and then an intermediate class. And have added even more in 2020. We use the National Archery in the School Systems program, which kind of goes through 11 steps of safe archery things. We do it inside or outside depending on the weather and the time of year. And already in 20 we've partnered with 2 different groups to where they've actually rented a staff member and had us teach archery to them throughout the year. So again, a nice growing thing we have going there. So. Skate nights continue to be one of our most popular events. As you can see there, we had almost 1,400 skaters, an average of 170 skaters per event, 205 skaters with an average of 26, or spectators, I'm sorry, with an average of 26 spectators per event. We added a skate night in July for 19, and then we've added 3 throughout the summer this year with the success of the one we added last year. So if you've never been to skate night, first Friday of every month, so this Friday night, be there. Rentals, as Tyler was kind of talking about, we do all the rentals for the government buildings. So you can see there how many hours each building is used or was used in 19, what the revenue brought in was for each building, and then our total revenues for 2019, and then also 18, just as a little comparison. Again, for the weather, just Indian Springs was almost the difference there between those two values. Just I think a lot of that having to do with the weather. So one thing that I was kind of confused about at first was the Hudson Hall All, why we rented it for so many hours but didn't make any money, and that's because the DMV is in there. So all the hours that they're in there show up in the hours rented time. So rentals at the rec center, again showing you kind of all the different things that we rent there at the rec center. And our rentals last year were almost $20,000 worth of income for renting our rooms and equipment and other things that we rent there. So the gym and the party room are obviously our two biggest rentable spaces. And the water park continues to go up every year. We get more and more private rentals. Small birthday parties now we're starting to rent it, and those after hour parties are just picking up all the time. 3 or 4 years ago we only had 1, and now we're up to having 5 or 6 a year. So. The new software and website switchover. So the city as a whole, as you all know, did some switching its website, and then we switched our software as well to match the new website. One of the best things is it made our website mobile friendly. And then customers can also review available rental space online, which is the first. So you can go on there and see if the pavilion's available for the date that you want instead of having to call in. So really going to work through some efficiencies that we think there. They can purchase their memberships and register events online. Again, our old system did not let you purchase memberships online. So this hopefully will allow that to help out with some efficiencies as well. So staff did an amazing job with that. We had a good plan moving into place and transitioning about 1,400 members from our old database to our known database. It was a pretty big task and went fairly smoothly. So. And then we have a sweet video that we're not going to show for sake of time, but go to the website and there's a cool video that we had done as a little promotional thing for the water park. So make sure you take a chance and take a look at that. So questions on anything at the rec center?
Questions? All right. Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you, Parks and Rec. And we'll move on to the most entertaining, engineering. No pressure.
most fun and fulfilled, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll keep this down to about 100 slides, so
Okay, perfect.
we should be here
Keep the physics.
pretty quickly within an hour, hour and a half. No, this should take no more than five minutes or so. Kyle Mathis, City Engineer. I'll be presenting for Engineering Floodplain Department. We have 4 full-time employees on our staff. Our staff does a real good job. They make my life easy. One of them is going to the dark side, converting to Public Works here, but that's all right. We'll find another person to replace him, and we'll be working alongside of him very closely, continuing to. We also got a little help this year. Summer seasonal. Bill Clapridge, our former full-time employee, came back and wanted a little more punishment and helped us out a lot. Excellent. So very fortunate to get his help this year. So this is just kind of a summary of what we've been up, or what we were up to in 2019. City capital improvement projects, we had 4 total for this year. We did 3 in-house projects, which included designing them, bidding them, and doing construction administration. Private development projects, we had 21 total this year. That involved anything from plan review, construction administration, construction closeout, and dedication of public improvements. Also issued 62 right-of-way permits, as well as inspecting those projects. That entails new utilities, replacement of utilities, sidewalks, driveways, whatever goes on in the right-of-way that requires excavation. Plat review, we did 45, 93 floodplain determinations, as well as 15 floodplain development permits. We did 4 city survey projects, and we did 7 specialized map sets for other departments. I'll just briefly go into our major CIP capital improvement projects for this year. The big one, obviously, that took up most of our time is Jackson Boulevard Phase 1. It was awarded to RCS Construction at about $3.9 million. To date, we have about $15,000 in change orders. The project area entailed 3rd Street to 10th Street. Some of the major components, most of which here have been completed. Water and sewer main replacement. We put in a new large storm sewer trunk line from Spearfish Creek to 8th Street. That'll really help the storm drainage on the roadway, as well as a CDS unit that will treat that storm drainage before it goes into our creek. We looked at it in working condition there, and it's really done a great job separating out trash, debris, sediment, and oil before it enters the creek. We're pretty much complete with our conversion of the old 4-lane roadway to a 5-lane roadway with raised medians and center turn lanes. Bike lanes were also installed from 3rd to 5th Street, and raised median on Main from Jackson, Kansas is completed. And we've still got a long ways to go on the landscaping and the medians, but we've got the new street lighting pretty much all installed, and traffic signal at Canyon Street will be replacing 2 of the poles, and they're actually working on that now, and that should be functioning here within a couple of weeks. The percentage complete to date is about 85%, with an overall completion date of June 1st, 2020. Like I said, most of the work needs to be completed right now is generally the landscaping components within the medians there. Just a few other pictures from the project. That's storm sewer, our major storm sewer trunk line that's installed. The overlay there, there's some striping from our new bike lanes, and over to the right is our new decorative street lighting that is installed. Quite a big difference from the old wood poles. Another project we worked on is tent and tank, 12-inch water distribution line upsize. This was another in-house design that we did. A&L contractors did the project, did the construction for about $73,000. And we just replaced and upsized an old cast iron water line from the tank to the north side of Hill Street. That's going to allow us to get some more water into the west side distribution network a little faster than we did before. City Hall site improvements. That was awarded to GTI companies. It's still a work in progress, but to date we completed $334,000 worth of construction with an estimated final cost of $426,000. Roughly 78% complete, and work will resume in spring of 2020 as soon as weather dictates. Probably have approximately probably about 3 to 4 weeks worth of work remaining. Overall improvements included ADA accessibility to sidewalk and parking, storm drainage improvements, new irrigation components, and landscaping. The work included improvements to City Hall, Fire Station 1, the police station, the library entrance, and Hudson Hall. Items to be completed in the spring is just finishing up the parking lot improvements, including crack repair, sealing it, doing the permanent striping, and installing a ADA accessible ramp into Fire Station 1. Lastly, we have the 2019 scheduled street repair project. This was another in-house design. It's completed. It was completed for about a little under $300,000. GTI companies did the actual construction. We had 3 different sites we were in this year. The first site was Shar Addition subdivision. That's kind of in the Iris Street, Hill Street, Harvard area. We did a lot of dig outs, a lot of subgrade stabilization with some asphalt patching, edge mill, and overlay. Site B was First Avenue, basically from 28th Street to the west entrance of Walmart. We did traffic islands to help get people coming out of Walmart out a little bit further so they could see westbound a little bit easier, and to separate the right turn only lane traffic that's going in there as well. We did curb ramps, sidewalk, asphalt patching, and we did grooving and pavement markings there to help delineate that area a little bit better so it's less confusing for cars going through there. And last but not least was 26th Street from Colorado Boulevard to 5th Ave. We took advantage of Connects being vacated there, so we also did an overlay in this area instead of just your general patching. So we did a lot of subgrade stabilization, asphalt patching. We replaced a lot of curb and gutter and belly pans at driveways, full width mill, asphalt, and fog seal on that. In all, we spent about $4.2 million on our projects. As is noted, we still have a couple that we need to finish completing the City Hall and Jackson Boulevard Phase 1. So probably another $600,000 or so to complete those. And the other things we spent a lot of time on in 2019, as every other year, is helping to assist and support other departments as well. They support us too. We all work well together and get a lot accomplished every year. We helped with the RTP grant and the SDDOT grant for Erect Path, providing some assistance to Tyler. We worked on the X-State Community Path Feasibility Study with other departments, scheduled street repairs we talked about. The 2020 CIPP sanitary sewer lining project, we had found after cammering some of our sewer trunk lines that we had some issues with those and they needed to be lined fairly quickly. So we worked in-house with Water Sewer Department and got a project out, and that's out to bid, and they're actually going to be starting on that this week. 2020 street improvements, we are doing the design right now. As I mentioned, Bill Flatbridge was our summer intern. He actually topoed that whole area, so that got us a leg up on the design on that for this year. The IMS pavement management plan that Dusty was heading, we helped with some mapping and data on that. Weed control mapping. I won't read through the whole thing, but again, with a lot of assistance to other departments, and we sure appreciate them helping us out on other projects too, assisting us with everything too. And with that, it's kind of wraps up 2019. And any questions?
Any questions for Kyle? All right, thank you, Kyle. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, and then just a quick FYI that the remaining departments, Public Safety, Finance, Planning and Zoning, and Human Resources will present next council meeting on the 16th. All right, and then at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anybody wishing to speak, go ahead and go to the podium and state your name. And then just remember you have 2 minutes, and council can't take any action at this time, but we can at least listen. Go ahead, Misty.
I have one quick, Misty Caldwell. My first item of note would be for Visit Spearfish, and it was just for Dusty that it may be statistically significant the amount of trash in 2015 is the 75th anniversary of the rally. Significant amount. So this is the 80th this year, so that'd be it. The other thing I have is just from Misty Caldwell, resident of Ward 2. Respecting the fact that employees and you who have put yourself in a public position have to make difficult decisions, including snow removal. Without mentioning details of the video circulating, I want to mention that I'm disappointed in the sharing of the video regarding snow removal. It personally targeted employees, publicly elected officials, and our neighboring communities. As a person who promotes Spearfish personally and professionally, the reach of this is beyond a quick joke. I'm embarrassed by that. It was hurtful and inappropriate, and I think we're better than that as a community, so I'm sorry.
Thank you for sharing that, Misty.
Mr. Goodrich, before you begin, I received about 8 calls regarding snow removal. Mr. Goodrich was one of them. And I asked him to come in and talk at public forum. But I also told him to come in late. And the reason for that is I knew it was a 3-page long agenda and that we were going to be doing the department reports. So Mr. Goodrich came in after you made your comments regarding snow removal. And, so I don't know if you would want to reiterate that before he begins, basically what you had said, or
sure.
Because I do think that was pertinent to why I believe Mr. Goodrich is here.
Sure. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, you sure can.
I'd inform the council that it was my decision and my decision alone to plow the snow to the curb. I think it's the most cost-effective and efficient means to remove snow. As you saw in the Park and Rec budget, we've cut $200,000 out of the rec center. We've had to cut money out of the Public Works Department. And so when we're trying to do more with less, that's the best way to remove snow. It's the way the Mitchell, Pier, Rapid City, many other communities remove snow. I believe it's the best way to do it in Spearfish.
And also, you had discussed why the center doesn't work too, just for the sake of roads, right? So, go ahead if you...
Sure. The wet roads create freezing and thawing on our roads. It creates a mess on our roads for days, and it's very expensive to haul away. So plowing the snow to the curb is again, the most effective method to save tax dollars and keep a mess from happening in our city, maintain our street longevity, etc. There are a variety of reasons that going to the side makes the most sense.
Let me sneak back in there. I didn't mean to steal any of your thunder or anything. I just, because I asked you to come in late, I didn't think that was fair to, yeah, anyway. I do appreciate that you did come in. And,
absolutely.
And out of all the calls that I've gotten, I've been told people to come in. I'm glad to see you because this is one of the reasons why this is made available.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've been a resident. Go ahead.
State your name.
Yeah,
and your
I'm Mark
address,
Goodrich from Spearfish. I live on Wyoming Court, and I've been a city resident for 30 years. Of 23 of those, I've lived on Wyoming Court. Tuesday, when the snow quit, I went home from my business and I cleaned my driveway, my 82-year-old widow next door's driveway, and the single elderly lady next to her's driveway and all their sidewalks. I do that regularly. I went home mid-afternoon to check my mail, and my driveway and all the other driveways on Wyoming Court were blocked shut. The snow was 36 inches wide and 23 inches tall. And I couldn't get in my driveway, and none of those elderly ladies could get in or out of their driveway either. And for 23 years, that snow has been plowed to the middle of that street. And I've been able to get in my driveway, and so has everybody else that lives on that street. I went home then, mid-afternoon, with my company plow truck and opened up every one of those driveways for those people so they could get in and out of their driveway. I called the Public Works Department, and nobody answered the phone. So I went down there in my plow truck when I got done plowing those driveways, and I had a great visit with Nancy Hoffman. And she handled me perfectly. She's a saint, and whoever was responsible for hiring her did a great job. And she listened to me vent for about 10 minutes, and then she told me to call my council person, which I did. And Dan didn't answer the phone, and Marty did. And I let him have it for about 10 minutes, and he told me to be here tonight. So I'm here. I can't tell you how disappointed I am in that decision, because I pay my taxes like everybody else in this community, and I pay plenty of them as a business operator and a resident. And I love this community, and I stand behind it, and I do everything I can for this community. But that is unacceptable, in my opinion. When I got people that can't get in and out of their driveway, and that lady that lives next door, that widow, is in her mid-80s, she can't do it. Who's going to help her? But her neighbors. And I'm glad to do it. But I haven't had to move snow out of any of those driveways for all these years I've lived there. And now, magically, you make a decision to plow the snow to the curb. And I think it's wrong, and I'm not happy about it. And that's how I feel.
Well, thank you for sharing.
My name is Carol Vibruska. We recently moved over onto Yellowstone Place into a townhouse on a cul-de-sac, a long cul-de-sac. Nobody's familiar with Yellowstone Place. It's back behind the post office and the dialysis center, close to the Creekside School. Again, I have to agree with everything that Mark said. We had a mess in our call. Nobody came in to plow. So we started making phone calls. When I talked to Nancy, who again, I've got to pat that girl on the back. I was a secretary while I was working for years. And I know that the secretaries or the people that answer the phone get the gist of all the ugliness. I was polite to Nancy because I've been in that position before. And she gave me excuses on, well, there's a lot of snow out there. We got snowplows stuck. We can't get to everybody. And I appreciate the fact that Spearfish continues to grow and we have so many streets. But we're over by Creekside School in a cul-de-sac. The buses come up the Washington Street around 5th into the school. Then they go right back past Yellowstone. So we weren't plowed out. So I called Dan, sorry,
No,
I had to
that's
call
fine.
you.
Yeah.
Because Nancy told me to call my council person, and I did. And I don't know whether it was the calls before me, because they had 3 or 4 calls from Yellowstone Place. But 10, 15 minutes after I talked to Dan, in came a road grader. And that road grader came in, came down the street, back up the street, down again, and closed every one of our driveways.
That's right.
And I mean, it wasn't small closure. And we are not all old people. in our cul-de-sac, but we have a lot of old people. We were out there, my 90-year-old neighbor was out there shoveling the snow out of her driveway because she had a doctor's appointment. Our other neighbor got out there as quick as he could and got the snow out of his driveway because he has to take his wife to Rapid City for chemo treatments. So here we were, 70 plus, up to 90-year-olds out there opening our driveway. My husband called. I think he talked to you, Marty. My son called because he came into the cul-de-sac about the time I was out there shoveling snow, and he was upset because I'm not supposed to be out there shoveling snow. But what do you do when your elderly neighbors have to get out of their driveways? Sure. And so they said, oh, well, we'll bring somebody in and open those driveways. It never happened. I lived on Meadowlark Court for 35 years. It's a cul-de-sac. I never, in those 35 years, ever had to call the street department or anything because there was a road grader and snow removal into that cul-de-sac probably at 5:30, 6 o'clock the next morning after we had snow. We never, ever had to complain. I just hope that you realize that Yellowstone Place, which may be like one of the lost streets north, is part of the city, and we pay taxes, and we deserve better snow removal. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm Arla Smith, and I'm also representing the homeowners from Yellowstone. We happen to be the individuals.
Sorry to interrupt you. If you could, just please state your address. We have to have that for the record.
214 Yellowstone Place.
Perfect, thank you.
And we had, of course, done all the snow removal. My husband and I have that to do for, there's 28 driveways we plow and all the sidewalks. Then we left, gone to lunch, came back, and that's when the city plowed us in. Well, after we had done the 28 driveways with the, now we have 3 feet of snow to remove once again. And like Carol was saying, we had a lot of neighbors helping us to do this job because there was just no way we were going to get this done. And with the elderly people we do have in our cul-de-sac, you might as well say, it was quite a burden on those people to try to get them out. And you know, we're hoping that we would get the front end loader or something to come in and kind of help us with that because it's a lot more than we could do. And we weren't able to blow it because it was, you know, such wet snow. It was just walled up in ice. So we kind of struggled a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right. Anybody wishing to speak anymore? All right, seeing nobody, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Just one thing, Dusty, if you could for me, I know you have this courtesy removal service for the drive, just mitigating the obstruction entering the driveway. Can you explain that process just so everybody here is aware, because I know that is available.
Yes.
And at no cost, right, to the citizens. So, and I mean, obviously you're gonna have to be a little bit patient getting there, and there might be some cases where we can't be patient if we have to get someone to chemo, but can you explain that process?
Yes, sir. It's a fantastic service, actually. It's called the Snow Task Force, and it's a collection of all kinds of different individuals from the Parks Department, from the Streets Department. We have people over here in government buildings that volunteer to do it. And all they need to do is call myself, Nancy, streets foreman, you name it. Request the Snow Task Force come and open up their driveway, and literally, within minutes, your driveway will be opened up. I personally opened up over 300 driveways over the course of the storm. It's extremely easy for us to bring a truck plow anywhere in the city within minutes, drop the blade, back drag it. We're not opening up your entire driveway. We're clearing the snow berm that comes through. And that's available at any time. I apologize to the people on your street. I never got, and it isn't a reflection of Nancy, there's a lot of calls that come in. So my cards are littered all over the city, and it's my personal phone that I carry all the time, 24 hours a day. You call my phone, and I will get somebody to your driveway literally within minutes. It's that efficient, it really is. If it's not me, I'm texting Brandon or I'm texting somebody else to go out there and open up the driveway. We have trucks that are just sitting there waiting for any of these people to jump in and go out and do it. And we're happy to do it because it's a community service that I think is an important part of Mike's plan of going curb to curb. The plan is sound, and this is the way that we're mitigating issues that happen like this. And this sounds like a catastrophe that happened, and it might have been a miscommunication, it might have been an honest mistake that we missed that street. And I guarantee we're not going to miss it in the snow that happens in April or May. You're the first street we're going to hit. And then I'm going to be driving around your street back dragging your driveways every single time I'm over that direction.
We would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're here to help. We are literally here to help out the community in any way we can. We really want to. We all consider ourselves quiet, confident professionals. And all those guys in the back have been working overtime all week long, and that is your street crew, and they are here suffering through the most boring presentation that I've ever sat through in City Hall, just to help out and show their support for the community. Same with Nancy. She worked all day, and she's still sitting here to show support for the community. We want to help. So in addition to that task force that we have, we've now brought in Tyler's guys, the Parks Department, and it isn't, it's going to be storm dependent, but now the Parks Department is going to fall underneath Public Works. We go into residential to start opening up driveways. As soon as we start, opening up residential streets, as soon as we do that, we have people from his department now opening up driveways, almost immediately. We're going to outrun them because the streets crew is way better than the Parks crew, but they're still there opening up driveways, which is going to be, we're making incremental steps to try to make it better for everybody else. We're not against you by any means. We're trying to do this with a limited budget, and we're trying to do it right. So, call me. I'm here to help.
Dusty, you said your cards are littered everywhere. Did you, in your phone's on there?
Yes, yeah, it's my personal phone that I take. No, I'm a glutton for punishment.
All right. Well, good. So be sure, for those that need that, be sure to get those cards. And I know there will definitely be priority for those that need to get out immediately. That's definitely high on our list as well. Obviously, some storms are going to be more difficult than others, and some shouldn't be driving in those cases anyway, unfortunately. And I know I dealt with the same thing. I moved my snow at 6 in the morning, and I had to do the exact same thing at noon. Now I'm a little bit younger, obviously, and my snowblower doesn't work in those conditions. So I shoveled, my back dealt with it. And there's a lot of people, and I've dealt with that since I moved here in 2003. I've always had a plow to the side, and so. But there's circumstances where you can't do it. Be sure you get a hold of Dusty or his crew and make sure that you stress the importance of getting it removed, so he can take care of that. That's what we wanted to make sure that was aware, and I know the City Administrator Mike Garman did as well. So we'll do our best. We'll continue to improve inside of that as well. So thank you for coming and sharing in that.
Could I say something more?
Yes, absolutely, Carol. Maybe jump up to the mic so it's on record, please.
I've got a copy of last pages of City Spearfish minutes back in 2010, and it's an initiated measure titled "An Ordinance to Require the City of Spearfish to use snow gates or other methods and techniques to prevent snow in an amount that prevents usual access or egress from being plowed or placed into driveways or their openings to public streets, binding all city employees and city contractors, except in the event of a snowfall of such magnitude that a snow emergency is declared, with any additional cost caused by this ordinance to be paid by the city sales tax of the City of Spearfish." I'm wondering, is that ordinance still in effect?
That would be a good question for our attorney.
You can check that out. I would appreciate it.
Do you know that? Yeah, go ahead if you can.
That initiated measure is still in effect. Council has not repealed it.
Okay. There you go. All right. Well, this time public comment is closed, and we will be adjourning into executive session soon. I don't know if I see any high school seniors, so be sure to come get your paper signed before you head out, because we'll still meet after this. So we need a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, we'll move into executive session.